Welcome to Suzanne Talks to. My name is Suzanne Bernert. I'm your host, and I do a talk show where I invite people that I like, I see online. And today, again, I have somebody I met on Twitter, and that is Ravi. Little disclaimer before we go into the chat. Last weekend with Vandana, there was an issue with the internet, so we left that chat, did a new one. So if anything like this happens today, please just check for the second chat that we're going to do. Like we will chat this one and just go somewhere else and do it again. So, hi, Ravi. Welcome.
Namaste, Suzanne. Great to be here with you. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so grateful. Thank you so much.
Okay, Ravi, we had a discussion at home how to pronounce your last name, and that depends on where you are from. So I was not sure it is Nakara, yeah, Nakre,
It's
yeah.
it, it's a very interesting story, actually. That's probably should be the basis of our conversation because my ancestors actually come from the northern part of Karnataka and the southern part of Maharashtra. So they were
Oh,
actually Karkare. That's where
okay.
the origin is. So very much the integration of the Karnataka and the Maharashtrian blood. And when the Shivaji army went up during his crusade, he left my ancestors to be part of the Punjab province. And that's where they were settled to continue his mission and his vision. And then, of course, my ancestors then married into the Punjabi clan, into Himachal, into Haryana. So I'm really, I'm on the western western belt completely all the way up to. So I have my lineage to the south and going up all the way to the north, which includes Punjab. And it was interesting because my daughter was doing a very interesting project
Okay.
recently, and she said, where is our heritage? I said that I was explaining her, and then she wrote. And she wrote, she said, how do you pronounce Marathi, and how do you, Maratha, and then how do you write,
Congress.
Kannadiga? And then she was like, such an integration. Of course, she was born here, but that
Wow.
is that is a very story. Amazing you asked. So it's
Yeah.
Karkara, but original is Karkare.
Okay, that is what the discussion was about because as we are living in Maharashtra and the name rang a bell, and I think there was a minister with that name as well. So we were thinking, is there some association with this? But that's a very interesting story that you're like a coastal kind of a guy, you know?
Absolutely. I'm living in a coastal town here too.
Yeah. Okay, just to give the information, my chat is a little later today because Ravi is tuning in from.
From New York, in a town called Mamaroneck, which is a lovely beach town.
Okay, I've never been to the States, believe it or not. I've never been to America.
Oh yeah, we'll
I,
have to bring you here.
I'm a complete Asian kind of a babe. All my life, I've been traveling towards the east only. So he's in New York, I'm in Mumbai, and that's how we're meeting here. And he's another one of my Twitter discoveries. We met on Twitter, and he just roped me into something called Digital Nagrik. And he's going to explain to us because I was saying this is an amazing thing to do, Digital Nagrik, but what does it entail? What does it mean? How many people are involved? Where are they going to? And need to have it on Twitter. I was thinking it is important to pull it down and bring it on my show so more people can hear about it, the people who are not on Twitter. Because face it, Twitter is still just a fraction, a minuscule amount of people in India at least who are on Twitter.
Mm.
I mean, a lot of stuff is happening there. A lot of discussions are happening. Political discourse is happening. Economic discourse is happening. Cultural one. Everything is happening on Twitter, but only a tiny fraction of the population is actually on Twitter. So I was thinking, let's bring it
Absolutely.
on to YouTube because more people are watching YouTube. So Digital Nagrik, that's an interesting name for it.
It's a very interesting initiative that is started by a dear friend of mine from Bangalore, and we were talking a few years ago that the world is moving into online spaces, and having spent some time looking at online processes, norms, and values, we really felt that especially when the world is really becoming narrower, right, and the borders are melting, but definitely there are both pros and cons. So we felt that instead of just being landing on an internet, it's very critical that young people and many of us who should really understand what are the basics to really engage and really have yourself out there, because once you've tweeted or once you put your story on Insta, once you put yourself on YouTube, you're right there. And
Yeah.
similarly, it can make you vulnerable, but it also is an opportunity for you to it's an empowering opportunity too. So I think the piece really was that we saw very clearly during the COVID crisis, and we're still dealing with the aftermath of COVID. We saw a huge surge in number of people, especially young people, who started to come online, and some of them were experimenting with many interesting platforms like YouTube, Insta. But in US, for example, TikTok is a rage, right? We're about 140 million people, half of the country is on TikTok. But nowhere there is, it's crazy, nowhere there is a very systematic openness to get you to be skilled in becoming a digital citizen. And that's
Okay.
where it really starts. And I really want to commend my dear friend Manav and his team. They say, Ravi, we want you to start looking at a campaign. How do you really bring people in? And absolutely, you're right, Suzanne, that Twitter is a very small fraction of the larger universe, of the amount of times people engage. And I always say this jokingly with many people. I said, we spend more time shaking hands with our mobile phone than with our own partner, right?
That's a good one.
And
So you brought it to the point how to educate people in general to be a responsible digital citizen, but also you are targeting in a good way, targeting youngsters, schools. Yeah, we were talking about how people are actually going to schools and telling kids there how to be a good online citizen, but also how to handle trolling and these kinds of things that are happening, because no matter how good you are on Twitter, and I have a pretty positive space, I have a pretty positive Twitter space, I have a positive Instagram space. I try not to, like, even if somebody texts me, I try to engage that person, and usually when I'm talking to that person, then they're backing off and they're saying sorry, because you are putting positivity against it. And I like this line from
absolutely.
Sadhguru that trolls are just sad people that want you to be sad too. So I really
So
love the
so well.
point.
I love what he says, and it's exactly from a psychological perspective. But many people are, the issue becomes, some of us who have that bringing and who probably totally relate to Sadhguru, but there are many children and young people who are still very much looking at this self-esteem, this self-image is being developed, and that's where you really need to come in, and you need to really ensure that that you're educating them young. And I think some of the lessons learned from a lot of research, there's a Safe Internet Day. There's an initiative called Safe You, Safe Me, and many other folks who have done amazing work. But what was really missing was really to understand that when you're looking at digital citizenship education and skilling, it cannot wait till you're 16 years old. I
Oh,
have my little daughter. She started looking at YouTube when she was 4 or 5, you know
okay.
and how do you ensure that you are creating that very clear education so that even a 4 or 5 year understands. Even if you create a YouTube with kids, there is also YouTube kids in the range of 3 to 18.
Oh,
So the
yeah, that's
protection policy,
too long.
it has to be age appropriate. And I think that's where and I was amazed because some of the work that Indian government, and we had this amazing Twitter space yesterday with the honorable minister, and government of India has made it mandatory, right, through its very clear child protection and online protection, that we need every single citizen of India to become a digital Nagrik. So on your point, that where did digital Nagrik come from? It basically comes from this larger vision of that India is one of the most connected, with its very low, the Geo has done this crazy, almost like a zero cost for people to get onto the internet. Um, we see very clearly that this increased surge of people coming in, that
Yeah.
creates vulnerability, but also the opportunity. I think the government of India, with its digital Nagrik and digital, citizenship initiative, is extremely unique, because it's not just linked to what we are putting on the YouTube, right? It's also linked. We are on WhatsApp, the WhatsApp University. We know amount of older people in India, for example, are getting scammed by people dipping into their
Everywhere.
financial
Everywhere.
information.
My parents
So
got
so
this
it,
weird WhatsApp where they were asking, where they were like, "Hi, Dad, this is my new number in German, and please send me money." And my dad is looking at it and said, "Do you think I'm stupid? Because my son would call me and tell me if he has a new number. I would not need somebody just out of nowhere send me like that." But they also have these scams where somebody is like threatening them with lawsuits and everything, and they're targeting the older generation because they think they're not that smart, or they get scared easily. Because if you think how much this has evolved, it is not even an age issue. I would not even say it has to do with an older person not being able to keep up. We can't keep up sometimes because the evolution. I came to India when there was still a POC where you were going and you were like, there were these scratch cards where you had to dial a pre-number so you could call your parents in Germany without losing an arm and a leg. And just 15 years later, we are sitting here, and
Imagine.
you are in New York and I'm in Mumbai, and we're having this conversation about digital citizenship. So that is the kind of jump that I think a lot
Absolutely.
of people are struggling, because I have so many topics where I don't understand what's going on. But kids, yeah, they grow up with this thing in their hands. Yeah. 2, 3 year olds, they are sitting with the smartphone, they want the smartphone. And then they need to know how to use it and not abuse it, or not being abused by it.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
that's where digital Nagrik comes in. This forum comes in, and it's an initiative that goes from schools to schools and educates and asks children to take an oath that they will be um, courteous, have
Absolutely.
good
I think.
manners online. Because some people,
Mm,
they also have this thing, they want to be heard, and sometimes they want to be heard so badly that they are having a tendency to do something very crass just to be heard, because every human being wants to be seen and wants to be heard. Not everybody can be seen and
mm,
heard. So some people, they overstep.
mm,
And also, we are in a society where this kind of behavior gets rewarded. How many people do you
mm.
know have like have done something like really weird or even vulgar, or borderline, like, I don't know, criminal, and they end up in Big Boss? And you're asking yourself, why is that kind of behavior, controversial behavior, being rewarded with a
Absolutely.
reality show? So when the kids grow up, how will you make them understand, this going that way might give you that, but in the long run, it is not going to make you happy. They will not.
You know,
I think it
yeah.
has its own challenges, no?
I'll give you one specific example. Recently, like a month ago, I spoke literally many Twitter Spaces. Right, they were inviting me to speak on TikTok and why TikTok, and the specifically on that because of the culture here, and especially if you look at the data that is coming out from research. TikTok or Instagram are two, including Facebook. You've seen the almost a decline or the death of Facebook, right? And the factor is very clear because they did not put in very clear systematic education and skilling programs so the users can become little smart and alert by just putting saying a disclaimer that you do a terms and reference. You need to ensure when a young person signs up, she, he, or whatever they identify themselves with must also go through a short course. You don't let somebody just drive a car, right? You go
Yeah.
through a proper skilling part, and you will then have a 5 hours mandatory watch the video, at least in US. I'm
Mm.
sure India also has similar pieces. I think that's where we need to come in, and that's the larger piece. I would really want to credit that the government of India had that larger vision, that they're realizing that we have an obsessive population of Desis who love to express themselves, whatever
Oh
they
yeah.
want to create. Let's just make sure that these guys are also doing this diligently, responsibly, and also are not violating as they're not being violated themselves. And that's a lot of things that need to go into. And I think the same thing is also, true here. So that example I was giving TikTok, there was a trend amongst tweens that they will take a penny and try to put that into a socket and see if it blasts off. So this became like, and unfortunately, in this particular case, although it was a trend, a daredevil trend, TikTok should have taken off those videos right at the beginning, but they started to actually, as you said, reward it.
Reward.
They made it sure that that becomes more viral. There were children who were extremely, I think there was one death. And there was, of course, this is just one example, right? There are
Oh, there are
multiple
many like that.
examples where,
The
yeah,
Benadryl thing also. Yeah. So
Exactly, because the whole idea is that the reason they try to, especially in TikTok, because of the algorithm, it really looks at you and says, let me promote this behavior, and same thing with Insta, and that's why I'm so new to Insta. I'm trying to understand it. Maybe I need to learn how to use it more, in a strategic way. So coming back to the digital Nagrik, so the piece is right, no matter where you are, and that's where the government of India needs to be given the credit, whether you're a woman sitting in a rural community or person sitting in an office in Mumbai, you need to, it doesn't matter where you went to Harvard, you went to IIT, or you went to Delhi School of Economics. You need to ensure that this is now an integral mandatory course of these digital citizen, because the fact that we know very clearly is that we are going to be even more connected, right? There'll be
Yeah.
more new forms of way we'll be. The metaverse is a hiccup right now, but the fact is that there will be that digital avatar of Susan out there. And that there have been issues of the digital avatar also being violated. There were women who talked about that even
Yeah.
did not feel
Yeah. On Facebook,
secure.
Meta. Yeah, that virtual
Yeah,
space.
yeah.
I mean, I don't even know what to say about something like this where you are like coming together as a couple, or is a physical thing, and it has to do with touch and everything. I don't know how this works. I read about these cases and I was like, how does this even work? And I'm not sure I want to know.
I
I'm
think I
not
think
sure we
it's more
know about this.
I think it's more psychological, right? Because like I said, not everybody is
Oh,
able to imbibe that important quote by Sadhguruji, right? But many people are still shaping their lives. So some people react differently, right? That's why we're such a heterogeneous community, like, and that's why the mental health, and that's what we discussed in the last Twitter space, is so critical.
yeah,
That
men.
how do you make sure that the goals don't affect you so badly, but we don't have a control over that. But so for some people, they take trolls so badly they actually leave. You'll see some Bollywood actors deciding, I'm going off Twitter, I'm
Yeah,
going off Insta, I'm taking
yeah,
detox break, because some
yeah.
people really take it a little too seriously, I would say. I did a long I also did a long detox on Twitter, but now I have learned how to use it more positively, and now there are better reporting mechanisms where you can report, and that's really really important, because that's one message people need to do is, don't ignore. If you think somebody is really coming after you, you need to make sure that you stamp it right there. And there are such important there are helplines that the Ministry of Technology has put in. There are every single social media company is obligated now, because of the IT rule, to ensure that they take swift action. And especially, I was dealing with a case 2 days ago where a woman who's very very close to me, suddenly her somebody hacked into her Facebook and started to send out. And she was like, what do I do? I said, here is the National Commission for Women. Here is the clear outline. It's a criminal offense. It's just not any
Oh,
other offense.
okay.
You need to take and stamp it right there. So while you report that on your and block that, whatever, but you must go after and make sure that this person is absolutely apprehended and action is taken. So, and that is where I think the messaging of
So,
rights with responsibility as digital citizen is very important. So if I have a right to express myself, right,
hmm.
I also have a responsibility that I don't violate other people's expressions. And that is the heart of understanding what citizenship is all about.
So don't you think that yeah, I think it's so when they're calling this hotline, yeah, there's an actual human being answering, because I feel like many a times when I'm reporting something on Twitter, or I would report something on Instagram what hasn't happened, I'm just reaching an AI. Am I not reaching
Yeah,
only
absolutely.
artificial intelligence that can't really understand nuances and subtext and subtleties and double talk? If somebody is threatening, like somebody wrote a threatening message to me with worded in such a way that it was all subtext, calling me all kinds of names, but subtext. So they were not able to understand that this was like an harassment of sorts. And I was like, okay, you're not getting it. So that's on one hand, we need the artificial intelligence because the amount is so big. You can't have it that human beings are handling it. On the other hand, you need human beings to understand the subtleties. So where are we heading with that? I'm not.
I think you need both, right? Because one, that you need to immediately get the grievance recorded, that you
Yeah.
are immediately reporting, and you can do two kind of reporting. You can report in that particular social media medium that you're using, but you also can go on to the online, and maybe we can put that in the link, the online reporting to the government of India. And in severe cases, I would really recommend that you also can file an FIR, because it's own life. Because
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. And that's why I think one of the, if you go back to about 3 years ago, when the government of India actually really took on Jack Dorsey, and Twitter. I remember the reason that really went back and forth was because, and that's come out on the Twitter files, right? The amount of Indian handles that are still remain shadow banned
I was
or
shocked.
blocked.
I was shocked.
And
I
I
mean,
was
we
seeing it
all
all the time.
knew this. I mean, we all knew this is happening, but we didn't know the extent of it. It was like systematic. It was like, let's take India
It was
down.
systematic. And that the Jack Dorsey now with the blue sky, I don't know what he wants to do with it. But you just cannot create a platform which is about expression and then decide to tune down certain voices because you don't agree. And that is, of course, and this again is because you are not instilling and bringing into your in your platforms the importance of digital citizenship. And on that note, I want to really say that government of India took a very strong step, and it's linked to what you said. Because government of India said we are not going to just report to an AI. And what do you mean we should report to somebody in San Francisco? Where is your ombudsperson or the grievance person in India? We need a name and an email and a very clear mechanism that you will not let this be just an AI that I've reported. What are the ways by which, and they failed to do that. See, and that is one of the biggest failures that Jack Dorsey did on Twitter. And that's why, and sadly the legacy continues. And you must be seeing this on my Twitter all the time. I'm like, end shadow banning of Indian and Hindu accounts, because Matt Taibbi in his Twitter files said, this is very clearly targeted, thing that was done by the old Twitter regime. And that is just one example. You have the same issue with Facebook in India, right? Facebook and
Mhm.
Instagram.
Yeah, yeah. I
Where
was
the
blocked
peace
for playing. I was blocked on Facebook for playing Sonia Gandhi. I mean, I played a character in a movie, and they said you're violating Facebook policies because I put a picture up in the get up, and they're saying you are a political party. And actually, somebody came to my door to check who I am. I had somebody from Facebook come to look at my Aadhaar card, my passport, and everything. And then I got my
my
account
God.
back, and I was like, okay, this is a very
I
interesting
must
way of putting things here.
keep complaining now on LinkedIn because I've gone back to LinkedIn and they verified with my passport. I was like, why should I send you a random email my passport details? Okay, I did, so they verified me. But I said, you still continue to shadow ban. And this is a problem when you need to look at the larger picture of who controls these social media platforms. And this is where the whole doctrine and the issue of American companies, and this is where China, the only time I would say China was smarter than us in many ways was the WeChat. They
Yes.
introduced WeChat and much before anybody else. And we are doing with Cuckoo FM, whatever we have created. I mean,
Yeah,
Indians are techies, yeah, where they are.
the thing with Coup, for example, is I am on Coup. I was one of the first people to adapt Coup in 2020, and I have a huge following but no engagement. The problem is that a lot of people went on Coup, opened up an account, and never went back because it had starting problems. It has had like, yeah, it has the starter problems. And I don't know, they're trying all kinds of like things to bring the people to use the platform, but I still like Twitter to become Twitter took how many years? 10 years or something like this to actually become
13,
what it
14 years.
is now. So I think we need to give Coup the credit, and I'm not giving up on it. And just now, technical digital Nagrik technology, we can talk another like 45 minutes at least about this, but I'm very curious to come to a little bit of more of a personal kind of a thing because you said you have a daughter, so I'm assuming you have a wife.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, absolutely. So we've been out for many many years. I've been out of India for over 2 decades. Spent a
Okay.
lot of time across the world.
Did you
You know,
plan that? Did you plan that? Did you say I want to live abroad? You know, I didn't plan that I will be living in India. I
no,
came to the
no,
TV show here,
it was
and 15 years later,
an
I'm still
opportunity.
here.
Yeah, it was an opportunity that came through work, and then I was doing some work in Nepal, and then they said, "Oh, you need to move something in New York," and then one thing led to the other, and definitely was not a plan because I'm very, very desi, as you know, in my heart and my upbringing. But it's been lovely to see because and over the years, you've seen that I'll tell you an instance. Like one thing that happened to me to now, which is very interesting, is that this is very few people know the story. when 9/11 happened, right? I was very much in New York, and I still remember that Indians were not, the tech industry was still booming, right? People still slowly coming in. I'm talking about year 2000, 2001, almost. No, was it? Yeah,
Yeah, it is 2000.
2001. My God, I'm so old. Oh, that's about 20 years, right?
Yeah, I
Oh
know.
my God. Can't believe it. It looks like yesterday. So,
Yeah, I know.
I was walking in near Grand Central, and then suddenly I hear people shouting, and I turn around. The people are coming to attack me, and they said, "You Pakistani Muslim, you get out of my country." And they actually attacked me, right? and I was like, and there was a very little understanding that South Asians are heterogeneous. Yes, we may look the same. Like there was no understanding about Kalava that this would mean a Hindu sign. They would not know
Mhm.
that, and I don't blame them. It was such a, and I never did any complaints because I was trying to be empathetic to understand that, and I saw the buildings fall. Right, it was horrific. I was right there, and that time, in fact, yesterday I was taking another friend from Bangalore out for dinner, and we were going downtown on Wall Street. And I was telling, I said, it brings a lot of memories from 20 years ago. So going back on that, so you've seen that with very few Indians that time there were, and to a time now you see Indians have invaded parts of USA, right,
Yeah, but they still
and
have a
parts of the
problem
world.
there with the distinction. Yeah, I think they still have a problem to understand who's a Hindu, who's a Muslim, who's a this, who's
I
a
think it's become,
Sarwan, who's a like. I don't know. Even though for so many years, so many Indians have been living there. There's a huge diaspora. They even in the political field, there in every nook and corner, and still there's so much ignorance about it. I'm not understanding why, if, like huge part of the country is already infused with many different cultures, and they still have a problem to understand if somebody's from the Philippines or from Mexico or from. There was this tweet today where they were saying, yeah, Morocco and India, they're basically the same. I'm like, huh? So
but that's because of the the very insular way by which education is imparted here. Very people will be very surprised, but there are some progressive states because US is such a federal system, right? You
yeah.
the states, some states would really work on ensuring the diversity education is integrated, like California, like New
Okay.
York. I'll give you an example, right? Like when we came, there was no way anybody would know what Diwali was, right? Nobody
Right.
would understand the festival of lights. And I think when, especially when my daughter started going to school very early on, we said, while we celebrate the lovely festival of Christmas and Hanukkah and Eid and so on and so forth, we also need to educate the class, because the class is about two Desis, right? That we also have a festival called Diwali. So she started running a Diwali, like a celebration class and we were actually glad the diya, right? And it's such a small thing to do. You pick up a diya, a terracotta diya, and you start doing a craft, right, around it. And then you talk about the messaging of why the diya is critical. It's just not lighting lamps. It is actually to enlighten your soul to become more spiritual. And the light must be lit inside, not outside, so that the darkness which lies inside can actually be eliminated, right? And here you've seen over the last 2 decades, the amount of diaspora, as you said, has grown, and also the education on Vedic understanding. Like my daughter, for example, started doing mantra classes at the age of 4, right?
Wow.
And now she is a mantra speaker. Actually, she would recite Aditya Hridam Sutram to you completely. She would do a Maha Lakshmi Ashtakam, and just tell you right now. In fact, she will have a mantra class very soon, right after this class. And we both of us make sure that we're able to relearn our own understanding of Hinduism, and I think that has also grown because there is this. The way we were brought up in Delhi, although I went to this amazing school called Bharati Vidya Bhavan, we had amazing understanding of mantras and all the other religions. But somewhere it kind of disappeared as you grow older, and I think
Yeah.
it's in your own quest for spirituality, and that's probably you and I'm correct most with is really to understand the meaning of life. The journey of the soul, and this is where I said no, we need to understand the scientific aspect of the Vedic heritage. While we respect and celebrate,
Because so
while
many
we
people
respect.
just they do the ritual and they don't know actually what the story is behind it, and there's so many amazing like books, of course, but also YouTube videos out there where people are. I would have to ask Akhil who that is. There's this guy who makes these amazing videos where he was experimenting with Om and how it was changing, like with light, and how when you're sitting and
Yeah,
doing Om, how the reflections of the light and it's getting into shapes. And this, it's an amazing treasure trove that has completely been like, let's not talk
absolutely.
about it. Let's pretend it doesn't exist, and let's pretend that
Yeah,
the Persians got the art, like India got the art from Persia, not the other way around.
totally. I think this is where I think mediums like YouTube, mediums like Insta, mediums like Twitter, you are able to reclaim, because that's exactly where the whole piece becomes. It's also a very big boon that if you use it to your advantage and use it as an educational, as an important message, like what you're doing with your own channel, right? And so, and this is where, when some of these Twitter spaces they'll talk about Hinduism, and I'm like, I would always say, what did you do today with your children to demystify and understand the Vedic heritage? Like if I will do, the Mahamrityunjaya mantra with my daughter, she knows it by heart. She doesn't want the mantra; she wants to know why it was created, who created it. It was Gayatri mantra, so why did Vishwamitra create, and why was a fight between Vishwamitra and Vashishta, and
Yeah,
why did Vishwamitra have the ultimate goal? So so and you can sit, you have Kamdenu right there, right? That's the the story of why the fight really took place between Vishwamitra and Vashishta, and then ultimately the purpose was Gayatri mantra. So I think there you're seeing that it's just not her. Like you'll be amazed, at the age of 5 and 6, she was teaching some of
I
her
mean,
mates.
children will always ask questions, and if the answer is it's always been like that, and just because then it's great when a
Yeah,
parent goes out, and even if you don't know it, that you try to find it out. I or anybody for that matter, because I had to do for a TV show, Bhuva Swaha, Tatsavitur Varenyam, and that was at a time when I was not even able to speak Hindi. And Akhil took three Gitas and tried to find out which one is the absolute accurate one. And then he wrote the whole thing so I would be able to pronounce it. And it was an amazing thing because he was like, I also have to reacquaint myself. I have to look at it. I have to go and find and make it into this thing that you can use. It was for a TV show, but I was also asking what, how, when, why, and how to pronounce it, and then because you cannot just say it, there's something behind
absolutely.
it.
Yeah, and I think there I think I see some, with my back and forth between India. I feel, there needs to be a very clear. I think some of us who are more living here now in our own Desi, diaspora, we've actually revisited and already integrating some of the heritage thing. I think that needs to be systematically done across India too. I'll tell you one of the projects I'm working with a very dear friend of mine in Atlanta, and we are hoping to find the right partners. We are right now working on an app for children in the age group of 5 to 16, where we
Mhm.
actually more to demystify and simplify the Vedic heritage, and
Wow.
also make it as an educational platform, so that we realize that we cannot say, oh, everything, because in YouTube also you should be it takes a time to really find the right video, and
Yeah, for children,
and
you also have to put it in different words. That's why Mahabharata is working for children very well. Ramayana and all these. This is because it's a storytelling, and through the storytelling, the message is being conveyed. But somebody has to also sit down and explain that to you. But you will explain it different to a grown-up person than you will explain it to a child,
Yeah.
right? So
So we are
that's
working on a project. Hopefully that'll be out. It's going to be in English first. It's a project that this is a dream project of a dear friend of mine, Roshana, and hopefully that's something which will be open up for the entire community, because I feel that there is no app right now. You'll have app on all random things for children, right?
yeah,
Random to random things,
yeah.
but not on your own identity and heritage. I mean, that's something should be should be a priority for every Hindu organization which claims that we need to make sure our next generation is. So if you want to make sure they want to imbibe, what are you doing about it? You're not making it simple for people to understand the learning. And I'm saying
I
that
think
it's a
everybody
very
should
basic thing.
also. I think it's great to have this impatience a little bit, but we have to see also in how many years we have come this far already. You know that the government is doing so many things and trying to do so many things on so many angles and levels, and people trying to do
The government is
something.
amazing. I think it's great because of this government. A lot of us have, yeah, really. I would say that somewhere it has played a very critical role in being proud of your identity,
Yeah.
and also your heritage. I think it's really has played. And I've said this multiple times. I said you don't realize that whatever you do now in India matters to the world. This wasn't the case 20 years ago,
Mhm.
and it has definitely accelerated in the last 8 9 years, because
Yeah.
you see that pride. I was part of this very interesting initiative last year, which was the India 75, where we were looking at 70. I was asked to be part of the jury, which where we rewarded the 75 Indians who've done some extraordinary work in promoting the Indian identity. Uh, it was amazing to see that there were people in New Zealand, there were people in Australia, there were people in South Korea. The diaspora has just gone everywhere. I mean, about Germany, amount of Desis that are there. I remember I was in Wismar, north of Germany, and I'm in
There's
north
so
of
many.
Germany, which is nowhere. And Wismar, I'm there, and suddenly I see a Punjabi restaurant, and
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, I'm vegetarian, right? They were like, dude, come. And it was interesting because they spoke only Punjabi and German. They didn't speak English, and that was new to me, right? That
Wow.
they will only speak two languages, and
Yeah.
they were Germans, right? And they had their own, so they only spoke like German and Punjabi, and
That's
somehow,
a great
with my
combination.
first and get free food. She refused to take the 5 days I was there. Refused to take money from me.
Oh
You know,
wow. Hasn't happened
the
to
same
us,
thing.
Akhil. We need to figure out how he did that because when we go and we are in Germany and we are in that small little town where my parents are, they're very happy to take our money.
Really,
So one second,
to me.
I had asked you before about your wife. Is she from the same
Yes.
area or have you married
Yeah,
outside
yeah.
your?
Neha's from the same area, and and that's why for us, we are both Sadhguru disciples. We are very
Oh.
much inner engineering. In fact, we took turns in doing in inner engineering courses. We've also done quantum healing and Reiki healing. So that's the
Mm.
spiritual connection for us, which is very very important, and that's where bringing up a daughter, with the same values, or not going after the material world, understanding that the journey of the soul is 1,000 years old, and this is the only time the soul gets this opportunity to reform and move to the next level, and that's we connected. Absolutely.
Now, what I like is that Sadhguru is making it logical, and he's also very much
Well,
into you have to live your life. You're not going to go into a cave in the mountains and sit there. That is not how to live life. You have to live your life fullest, and the tools that he's giving, the technologies that he's giving, that you can apply and that you can make yourself available and do things with your life. They are so like you can receive them. I started in the lockdown. Yeah, I was in. We were in
lovely. Okay,
lockdown
okay,
because we didn't know
okay.
what to do with ourselves and with COVID, and we didn't know how to do this. And so I said, let's do any engineering. What else can we do? So basically, we did
it's
it
it's
twice
it's
a day.
really engineering of the soul. It's exactly what it is. I mean, she did it in Tampa, and I drove to Toronto when he was there. I was like, I need to do. And when you don't do it, you start missing it. And
Yeah,
that is the a part so critical. And also the fact that, and he always says that, that these were always there. These tools have always existed. I'm
yeah,
just bringing them back into this age. And I think this is where, the awakening. I had a very interesting, life changing moment many years ago. So my mother's side, I was explaining to you, right? They come from the Haryana, and there's a place
mm,
called Saraswati. That's where Saraswati pond is. The pond is still exists, and it's in
mm,
a district called Ambala. If you go down inside, it's a very hidden secret. It's not a tourist thing. And I remember I was sitting there, and actually Neha was there, my sister was there, and some other friends. We were doing meditation in the Saraswati Kund, right? You don't believe, and my Hera standing now, because when you completed the meditation, at the end of the meditation came about 100 200 parrots, and they were circling around us. and we didn't understand why these parrots were there. And then I have a twin sister. She said, well, don't you know what parrots are? They're the Saraswati's Vahan. Saraswati Vahan is parrot and the swan. And I said, oh my God. And then we were going up, just trekking, and we found this beautiful old temple. And then the temple, the priest, who was another very aged, lovely human being, and he said this temple is about 3-4 thousand years old, and it is a very old, very small temple. And then he said, the time has come. I'm not joking. This is around that time, 2099. He said the time has come. She says Saraswati is going to flow again, and she's going to start flowing under the earth. And she said this will also signify the rise. This is not a. This is interesting. She said this will signify the rise of the Indian knowledge across the world. And fast forward 2023 in America, from that episode of being beaten by Indians are the most respected doctors. Indians are the most respected bankers. Indians are the most respected, financial, all kind of professionals, right? And I'm
Mm.
sure you've seen that tweet. I think it was 2 days ago, right? Which was about the most affluent diaspora is the Desis. And the Desis are known here now. Really, you will see it. And they had this crazy Bollywood movie, right? Party, which showed baby Num Num. This is a old, very stereotypical showing India as snake charmers to the India where they know that every single, during COVID crisis, every single television channel had a Desi doctor who did his or her MBBS degree in India. And that's what, people here, all my friends say that, tell us where the Indian students are going. This is reality. You'll see a lot of diaspora people talking about that. They'll say, why? He said, we want to send us kids to the schools where you guys are doing, because you're not getting into conflict, you're not getting into any kind of bullying. In majority of, I think, 99% cases, you stick to your focus, which is to attain knowledge when you have a learning center as a school. And the fact is, when the school rating improves, right? So the rating would improve because the students are performing. The prices of the neighborhood, right? The home prices go up. So this is that effect and the impact of the Desi diaspora. So going back to the story, and he said you will see that more and more skilled and knowledge workers will start to emerge across from the land of the Saraswati, and this is happening. It's only the starting. And yesterday, remember, I think Satya Nadella made that point. I'm just putting some dots together in his interview with Shireen Ban, and he said, well, India's already way ahead on the AI piece, right? And he also said very clearly, he said that India will provide the biggest professionals on AI. And I was saying yesterday on this population dynamics, right, in that Twitter space also, that the report that came just 5 days ago, the World Population Report, which said that India's population is going to go up, right? We'll have about, say, how many Indians will be in 2065? About 1.7 billion. You know how many Chinese will be
Scary
there?
numbers. There are scary numbers if
You
you
know,
think about the what do
no,
you call
no, I'm
that?
coming to an important point. You know how many Chinese will be there in 2065?
No idea.
700 million. They'll go half,
Yeah, because they
right?
had the one child
So
policy. No?
yeah, so what going back to this knowledge point about this story was that, and this is the biggest opportunity that India needs to ride on. It's linked to the conversation we're having on digital citizenship. We want to be having the biggest young population,
Yeah.
but that young population needs to be skilled and
Yes.
educated on digital citizenship.
Mm.
Because that digital citizenship is not only about how to engage on a social media platform, it is now to use the all the innovations that AI is going to unleash. It has already started to unleash with chat GPT and crazy stuff happening, DALI, etc. I think this is where the new generation of entrepreneurs will come, right? And I was listening to Rajiv, the minister, right? So Rajiv ji said a very interesting thing 2 days ago in one of his interviews. He said India in 1990 was very much coming behind the world and catching up on what the internet Web 1 revolution was. I went to school in Delhi where we learned BASIC and Pascal and MS-DOS, right? We were learning what was happening, right? He said, fast forward now with this amazing situation in India, you see that India right now is defining the AI-driven revolution. And he said, this is where the game changes because you are now in control and you're also deciding the narrative. And yesterday on a Twitter space, an amazing, lovely person said, Rob said yesterday, he said, all the time I've been on Twitter spaces, it's the white American and other people telling the world what the world should do and what not to do. He said, you guys are the only country who can keep them to listen to you because you are doing some of the stuff in India, which is not just revolutionary for the country, but for the whole world. UPI, why digital Nagrik matters. I
Yeah.
feel so illiterate and so embarrassed that I don't know how to use a UPI. There's no UPI in America. We
Yeah,
still
the
had these
same. When we in
cardboard
Germany,
cards
when we in
for a
Germany,
COVID.
it was nothing like that. Yeah.
I still
Same here.
carry, in America, guys, everybody who's listening, I still carry in 2023 a itna patte ka paper, a cardboard for my COVID 123. Can you believe it?
हाँ, लेकिन जर्मनी में तो सेम है या मामा पापा के पास वो ये येलो वाला वैक्सीनेशन का पासपोर्ट है because
And
Germany is saying that if you're digitalizing these things and then there is an infringement on privacy laws. Like there's a story about the now ex-consul, German ex-consul who he was in COVID times, he had to travel to Germany and back. So you needed to do all these tests. And here he was getting the test via email, printed it out, took it to the airport, done. In Germany, he was in a village, had to drive to a city to do a test. Then he had to go back to pick up the test, and because of that, they lost they missed the flight because they said, why can't you email it? No privacy laws. I'm like, why? You are Dr. XYZ who's sending it to my email. What kind of a privacy law are you breaking if you're sending a
it's so
you can't even get a blood report in Germany via email. Nothing. You have to physically go there. Same goes. You are sick, you have COVID, you have to bring the report yourself to the school, workplace, wherever you can't go because you're sick and you're having COVID. But you have to bring the note from the doctor personally to the place and show them that you're sick.
And this is where the digital Nagar conversation goes back, right? Because you're looking at a digital citizen who she or he is whatever they identify themselves with is totally empowered and in control. Because today, the like I said, your telephone knows more than your wife knows about you or your partner knows about you because you know exactly what you're doing, good or bad, whatever. I mean, the fact is that
Yeah.
this is great, but it's also vulnerable, right? So the whole, and if we come look at the other aspect of digital citizenship, and that's why the Data Protection Act that India has really put in place is so important because you're taking on my data, an American company, and telling me what I'll do. No, you know, absolutely not. That is where the governments have to come out. That's where EU has now looked at what India is doing and saying that, oh my god, and that this is where the whole conversation that now India is leading in many parts, just not in parts of deciding the technology, but also deciding how it will be used from a policy perspective, right, from a
Mm.
governance perspective. I mean, look
Mm.
at the e-governance aspect of people. I remember in our time, there's something called e-governance, and we're like, what do you mean? India's leading e-governance conversation. You had the minister yesterday talking to us as if this never happened in the
You have a
Congress
you
regime or other
Yeah,
regimes.
you have people who are actually there. You can approach them. They are there. You can talk to them, and that is an amazing thing. I just had a problem with that space yesterday, and I think we need to talk one on that because it kept on kicking me out. So I don't know what was going on, but just the opportunity to have a space like that, yeah, or that what we are doing right now. YouTube has finally brought this. We are directly on YouTube right now in our chat. We're not using a third party app. We're not on StreamYard or anything else. We're using directly YouTube. So that's also something
And
that
thank
is
God.
new. And so constantly, every time something is changing or the other, something is happening, and you have to keep up learning how to do it, but also have to have help from the government with governance. Because
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you want to maybe use something, but then you don't know is it safe enough or like there's still a lot of uncharted territory, in my opinion.
There is a very interesting concept called the ecological model of human system, right? Which means that if you have to work on really creating all these points you said right now, the where a child is born, which is a family, and that's why going back to digital citizenship is that the family plays a very critical role on understanding that the child is she is. I'm going to give she as an example, but she is using that as she moves ahead in her life, and it's being skilled. It doesn't matter where you are in rural, urban, or wherever you are. But the second ecological model has the family, then the education institution. So teachers are so important for us because they are our gurus, right? In our culture, they're not teachers; they're our gurus. They are respected.
Mm.
If
Yeah.
God front comes in
Mm.
front of you, the
Mm.
guru's there. You touch the guru's feet first, and then the God. That is the importance we give, and that is the importance that is needed. That we need to ensure that every single, and that's the work that this amazing work Manav and his team are doing, which are leading and want to have thousands and millions of teachers across India imbibe and integrate this understanding, very much contributing to the larger vision of the Prime Minister. And then after that comes this is when we were doing some of these trainings, we heard that the teachers would say that my husband works in the corporate sector. He's saying I'm learning so much. So the
Mm.
market is very important. Right after the education system is the market, then it's the media. I think the media needs to do much more. And I remember there was a very interesting Aaj senior editor, Anjana, I think her name is. She came up very strongly and said, we need to do more on educating our citizens on understanding use and misuse of digital piece. And last not the least, I really feel which is critical is also the religious and interfaith leaders, right? They're using, they can do a very strong messaging in their temples, in their mosque, in their
Yeah,
churches. If you look
anywhere.
at all the big
You're
and this is
getting
where
you're getting access to somebody you wouldn't have been able to access before. Like I did in engineering online. You went to one of you went to Tampa and one of you went to I mixed that up. Yeah, for in engineering, you went to a physical
I'm
location. I was sitting at home, but I think we got the same benefit.
absolutely. In fact, it's funny you said that because 2 days ago we were having this conversation of actually offering a course in the Institute, of on agri-tech, right, and making sure that what is being taught in the Illinois University is made available real time to a person sitting in Uttar Pradesh in his village. And learning how to use drones, and because of technology, even the classes run in English. You can get that in your own, maybe your a Bhojpuri speaker.
Yeah.
This is where technology is going, right? That you may
Mm.
tomorrow speak to me in German and I can
Yeah.
respond to you in Hindi, and that you will still hear me speak German and I'll hear you
I
speak Hindi,
I
although you
hope
great
I
your Hindi.
just hope that it's better than Google Translate because Ake was he was googling some leaves, senna leaves, and it was wrongly translated. It was very like sometimes you get hilarious results. I love the concept of coup, for example, that you can coup in every language. Yeah, they have like
Yeah.
20 languages up there, and they have integrated Google Translate into it. But many a times it becomes awkward, or some words are not. So I think we still need to work on that. There is a long, long way to reach there. I think still. But one more thing I wanted to know: who cooks in your house, and what are you eating?
Oh, oh my God, this is a very interesting question. I find cooking the most therapeutic thing to do. So we
Really?
have this amazing roles and responsibilities allocated because um, I lost my father when I was 14 years old, and I remember growing up. I saw my father cook. He would always cook the Sunday meal for
Mhm.
everybody, and he was like a 6 feet 2 inch guy, a big guy, loved cooking for the family, right? And my mother she used to love cooking. So in a way, all of us in the family grew up how to learn cooking and enjoy it, and also feed people. So all my life, I have learned how to cook, right? And in
Mhm.
fact, I cook more Indian food, the vegetarian food. So like we have these crazy parties. My friends will say, "Can you make shahi paneer?" Only so you're coming, Ravi. Can you do shahi paneer? And Ravi, please don't do curry because Neha does better curry than you. So we have our own areas, and I mean, we love. In fact, this afternoon we have another amazing, another diaspora thing, right? I'm going to a friend's house. She is a Brazilian Indian. She was
Okay.
Indian, born in Brazil,
Okay.
raised in Brazil,
Oh
and
yeah.
now has moved here,
I
married
have
an
a
American.
Brazilian like that. I have a
Yeah,
Brazilian acquaintance like that. She's pretty nuts. Yeah.
you know. So, So the cooking, coming to cook, I cook. I love cooking. It's the most healing. That's the time I don't listen to anything. I don't watch anything. I probably do mantra. I'm a little crazy. I'll do some mantras, and I want the mantras vibration to come into what I cook. I
Okay.
just believe that there's a very strong power because these are all chemical reactions. So and this afternoon I have to cook for this entire week, about four families meeting, and I'm cooking shahi paneer. I wish I can send that to you. So hopefully you'll come home and eat the shahi paneer. So I cook a lot of vegetarian food, and I grew up cooking because my mother never ate even onion and garlic. So I also cook a very specialized Indian food with no onion, no garlic. Because I started, you believe me, you'll be surprised. I started to eat onion only when I was 19.
Okay.
Right? I still don't eat raw onion. I've never had the ability to grow into that taste. So
But food is
and whereas
a very important thing, and food is something like my mom is an amazing cook, so I kind of like I never ventured into that, and then half my life I lived in hotels, so I didn't have a kitchen. So coming then to India, there was always acting and work and everything. So in the lockdown, I learned basically everything in lockdown. And Akhil
nice,
is the kind of cook who saw his mom cooking and he just goes in the kitchen, he just copies it somehow, and it turns out fine. So we have some fun cook videos that we made in lockdown on our channel.
nice,
And
nice. I should
I'm
see
still
that.
experimenting because just yesterday and today I made poha for the first time. What sounds like
Oh,
such a simple thing to make. And I was like, why didn't I do that before? And I
yeah,
started
it's amazing.
experimenting with millets because I completely agree that millets are the future. So
Yeah,
I had
we have.
foxtail
It's
millet
the most.
yesterday.
I think it's the most healthy thing to do, and like we do, like every day you'll find dosas. You'll find us doing, paneer. We do different fusions, right? You'll do a pancake with a basin chila, interesting
Oh,
paneer formula. So, and I do these crazy, and hopefully when you come, I do the Punjabi paratha parties. So where we will actually make parathas for everybody. People will say, I'll say, okay, only two because it takes a lot of effort, to make paratha. A lot of joy because you're doing it for everybody. It's a lot of celebration. So we do that all the time here. It's a lot of fun. And I love cooking. If I had to take an alternate career, it will be to actually open a restaurant and cook.
yeah, when it becomes a career, it can be a little bit different, then it becomes a more, you have more pressure on
Maybe
yourself still.
at some point I want a kitchen, the different dabba system here in America. And you'll see dabba walas.
With a bicycle, e-bicycle, with an e-bicycle. You have
Yeah, yeah,
anything else?
e-bicycle.
We're hitting 1 hour already, and I don't know how that happened. Do you have anything else that you
Oh
want to
wow.
like throw at the audience, to the
Yeah,
viewers?
I think
Anything
it's
else that
great.
you wanted to talk
Yeah,
about?
I think it's great. I think just to be here, such a great honor. But just to say that, I think to understand digital citizenship, because that's what we are mainly focusing on, is really a self-educational journey. While other people can say, "You come and do it," I think you need to also take some active part in understanding what it means.
Yeah, but
And
that means
I think,
self-awareness. I keep on coming back to this, the whole self-awareness. A lot of people are just reactionary human beings who are run by their own feelings, emotions, and their whatever there comes into their mind. And they're thinking that's life. That is what the essence is. That is how we should move around and work. And if this kind of reactive personality goes into an online space, how will that, without self awareness, how will you become a good digital citizen? So that's where you said then governance
you
comes in.
absolutely. I think you need to really find a self-awareness tool that can really help you unlearn a lot of package that you have and
Yeah, but you need
relearn
to have
some
self
part.
awareness that you are actually not okay.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's another
That's
discussion.
another
But just to
topic.
say that, that's another topic. But I would say that, I always say that, that in the future, probably, I don't know, the schools will not exist the way they do today. They become more cloud schools because there's so much of information out there. You need to make sure that information is now translated into knowledge, and that knowledge then is used to become your tool of life. And I think this is where I would say that, we need those ecosystem like inner engineering, some other vipassana and others, because they help you do that. And I would say that, using, and like, I'll give you an example. Like, I learned a lot of these stories about Panchamukhi Hanuman. Nobody told me. I went on YouTube and started to find, or some web. These are and that's why your own, like you said, the awareness is also that you know you can blame anybody, say, oh, this is not there. A lot of stuff is there. Do it more responsibly. Take active role in seeking out, right?
Yes,
And if you
and
find
now
something
it's
interesting.
available because when I was 24, 25, it was not available and I could not go online and do something. I had to go by word by mouth and read books and try to find that one thing that would help me in my spiritual search. And then when in 2020 I had panic attacks and I was like really going all over the place, the videos were there, the course was there, I could do it, I could immediately reap all the benefits, like go have a panic attack, sit down, do isha kriya, I'm fine, I can function again for another 4 or 5 hours, and then
It's
I
amazing that in my
it's
yeah
crazy
in
that
my
it
worst of my
works, you know.
in my worst of period, I think YouTube should get some kind of a medal. I have used YouTube to so much of meditation and so much of learning. And I am telling you, YouTube is like a guru for me, where it has all the other random stuff. There are amazing people like you out there who are doing so much greatness for people. And I think that really, that's why, again, remember what we started the conversation. It's both a risk, but also an empowering medium, right?
Yeah,
So
for
it
me
creates
at
the
least,
wonderment.
I can do something, you know. I'm not sitting and I cannot do something. I do this chat. It doesn't matter how many people are watching it. We are being enriched, you and me. And maybe we touch 5, 10, or 50 other people with
Absolutely.
some part of our stories. And I wanted to make a positive space because there are so many. There are people who do education. There are people who are doing political discourse. There are people who are doing sarcasm. There are people who are doing interactions, and all of that is out there. And I wanted to do something that is just not gossip and not superficial, but
Thank
also
you.
not this deep, hard stuff, you know, where it's like, well, it's
Yeah.
all like the end of the world
No,
and
I'm
not
so happy
true.
you asked me to come. I'm so excited, and I know that's been more than an hour, but it's great. And hopefully the conversation will continue. And I hope I'm going to meet you in person when I come to India and
I will
eat some
definitely have
yum.
you back on
And
my.
I'll
I will
cook shahi
definitely
paneer
have
for you.
you back on my show. I will definitely have you
Yeah,
back on Suzanne Talks too, because
please.
we connected very well, and we can take another topic like I wanted to talk about technology and sustainability, and
At one
we
time,
can
I
touch
forgot
that.
I was on a talk show. I was having such a great conversation with you. I forgot we were on a talk show. I thought we were just having a video chat.
We just have a video.
You,
That's exactly what I was telling Vandana last time because she got nervous, and I was like, "You're just having coffee with me. This is nothing. This is
yeah,
just
I
sitting
actually
and
forgot
talking and
this
being
was a talk
happy."
show. Because I love your energy and the way we've been connected. I fully forgot this was a talk show, guys. Sorry, I was so much into what Suzanne was saying, and as you know,
Um,
she's one of the most amazing people as a human being, but also clearly you're fantastic as an anchor. This is amazing. I
thank you.
forgot.
Thank
I
you.
totally forgot. You can see because
They
we're having
say
such.
this is what I'm aiming for. I want people to feel like they're just sitting in my living room, virtual living room, and they're having whatever beverage they're having and a good time.
Yeah,
So I thank you for your time on a Sunday morning. You tuned in all the
thank
way
you
from
so
New
much.
York, and I'm very
Thank you.
happy that Ravi was here today. I hope you guys are liking this video. Please share, subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and every Sunday tune in with another amazing human being. Next Sunday, I'm gonna have my next chat with another great human being, and I hope you tune in. Thanks, Ravi.
Thank you
And
so much. Take care.
okay, your picture already you already exited. Okay, so Ravi is gone, and thanks for watching. See you next time in Susanna Talks.
Lovely.
Bye.
Bye bye.